There's a new food show sheriff in town, Podna. Trey's Chow Podcast Live will feature celebrity chefs and pitmasters with celebrity mixologists with creative cocktail menus from distilleries statewide. We'll have farmers, ranchers, wildlife experts, fishermen, and more, all for the culinary world and the foodies. Live from the Spoonie Studios on the iHeartRadio platform, Trey's Chow Podcast Live.
Yeah. Hey, everybody, here we are back for another episode of Trey's Chow Live, and we are here with the pastry chef from Bijou, Andrea Meyer.
Hi there.
Hey,
it's great to be here.
Thank you very much. And we're gonna do a hot topic first, and we're gonna get back into all the great stuff you brought about your history, because I love it.
I love it.
And I'm gonna tell everybody right now that you and Omni had the best booth at Chocolate Festival.
Thank you.
Still impresses me.
Thank you. Thanks so
much. It was a
much.
neat deal.
Yeah.
All right, so we got some hot topics I want to talk about. We've got the Pappas brothers are opening up a new steak, Delta Blues, a Southern steakhouse up in Dallas on Plano Parkway. No, I'm sorry, Dallas Parkway in Plano. And it opens up the 17th, and they're going to have all kinds of Southern food plus barbecue plus craft cocktails, and it looks really good. I didn't get invited to the VIP opening. I'm upset about it.
I live in Plano. I want to know where that's going. Yeah.
Dallas Parkway. It opens up Tuesday. And what we talked about a while ago with you, we've got the TABC changes those new liquor laws, which everybody in Texas is going to love this if you're a drinker. We've got, you can get more beer now when you leave the craft breweries. You can get up to 24-pack beers. You can get 32-ounce growlers. Or the big thing is restaurants can deliver it to you. Yeah. You can deliver alcohol now.
It's going to be amazing.
Wine, beer. And guess who fought it?
Who?
The liquor stores.
Oh,
they didn't want the restaurants and the craft breweries.
Right, because they know people are going to take advantage of that delivery. Absolutely.
I think they got tired of spending money because they gave up. They gave up the fight.
Right.
Anyway, that went into effect September 1st. And then in local news, I got one more thing. This is national, but it's also local for us. Wendy's International. And my brother and I both worked for Wendy's International, as if you follow me, operations guys back in the late 70s and 80s, and they tried breakfast and it failed. Well, they've revamped and they've decided to do it again. They're going national with it with 300 restaurants, including Dallas Fort Worth. They're going to have breakfast burritos, honey butter chicken biscuits, and frosty chinos, whatever that is. I don't know. I haven't tried them yet, but they'll do well with it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, the last time they put it in 5,000 restaurants all at one time, and the execution was.
I was going to say there's no
terrible.
consistency. I would imagine between one to the next.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
And we got the Fort Worth Top Chef coming up. I'll be there. If you haven't got your tickets, it's Wednesday the 25th. You go to fortworthtexas.com, wftx.com. We've got Jenna Kennard, Steve Mitchell, Max, I'm gonna butcher this name, Max Zubu, and Rob Perdue. Gonna be 4 contestants. It's gonna be the finals, and your ticket includes alcohol and food. It's gonna be fun. With that, we're here to talk to Andrea.
Hi.
Bijou.
You got it.
I got it now, don't I?
You do, right. You're never going to forget it now.
No, I'm not.
Good.
So I could not say her name. I was going to tell you. So I was going to, when I was for the Dallas Chocolate Festival, all the way over there, I kept saying, Jana, my girlfriend, how do you read this name? How do you say? I don't know. We couldn't figure it out. We Googled, we looking, trying to figure it out, trying to find videos. Because sometimes you can find videos of people saying it.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Yes.
And if I'd have gone to your page, maybe, but and so when I got there, I asked Susan, and she told me, and then of course, it was a real quick, and I forgot it.
Right.
And then I saw you. I didn't want to say, hey, how's it going?
Right. Hey, well, just remember my first name. It's fine.
So the way you told me, a B and a zoo.
Yep.
Which is great to remember. Bijou.
Right. That's exactly right.
Bijou. Yeah. And where'd you get the name from?
So I have a friend in France.
Right.
We'd worked together at Ernst & Young in another life.
Right.
And every time she would write letters or send me cards or any of that, she'd always sign it with Bijou. And the idea really is the, kiss on the cheeks and hello, welcoming. And then when you leave, you do it again. And it's not goodbye. It's until I see you again.
Kind of like Chow.
Right. Yeah. And so it had this real welcoming concept to it and having people return. And obviously that's, the community sense that we're trying to have with the shop. And so I couldn't get away from it. There was no way to say it in English. It made me think of her and like how much I loved France and all of that. So although I fought it for a long time, she eventually was just like, enough already. Like we were on vacation. We were like, everyone's ready to leave. And I'm still like agonizing over this. And she just takes the notebook from me and she's like, it is Bisou Bisou. It is not Bisou Bakery. It is not Bisou whatever. Like it's Bisou Bisou. Let's go.
I can understand because Kiss Kiss is not had near the translation as Bisou Bisou. It sounds so much better.
Right. Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely. Yeah.
So where are you from originally?
Cleveland, Ohio.
Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah.
You go back there? You're still a family there?
Yeah, I still have family there. I'm actually going back next month for a week. It's been a while since I've been home, a couple years. And I moved to Dallas when I was in high school. I just started 10th grade when I moved here. Yeah. So, I mean, this is home for me now. I go back to Cleveland. I'm like, this snow is cute and everything. Now I need to leave.
Oh, there's a lot there.
Yeah, they get a lot. Yeah.
So did you live in Plano or Dallas? I mean, is that where you lived in that area?
Yeah. My family moved to Plano when I was in high school. And so I went to Plano East. Go Panthers.
Boy, did you see some changes. That was all farmland at your time when you moved there.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, for instance, I didn't meet anybody from Frisco ever. Frisco was just farmland. You didn't know anybody out there. Yeah. So yeah, we've definitely seen a lot of changes.
Yeah, and back in those days, going from like Plano to Fort Worth was like it was like a day trip to everybody.
Exactly.
Never do it. Now you don't think a thing about getting in a car and going shopping and coming right back.
Right. Exactly. I mean, it was like 10 different highways to try to get to Fort Worth from Plano. There's no way. In fact, I don't think
and probably one dirt road.
Yeah, I maybe went to Fort Worth once until I was really an adult because it was just such a hike. We never went there.
So you just said your school you went to. You said Plano Tigers?
Plano East.
Plano East. Okay.
Yeah. Went there for 2 years and had a good experience. It was after all of the drama that Plano had seen with the kind of drug crisis and everything. Right. So, I had a great experience and went from there and went to UNT. Didn't really know what I wanted to do when I was in high school. I was a straight A student. So there was no particular subject that I really gravitated towards. Maybe because I never took cooking in school. It never crossed my mind that would ultimately be my career.
Did you like to cook though?
Yeah, I like to bake. I always did. It was always a big deal in my family. Yeah. Always, making treats for celebrations and that kind of thing. And remember making cookies with my grandmother on, at Christmas time and all of that. But I never considered it as a career until I was much older.
Here we go, I'm going to flip around.
Sure.
Why do you think it's so hard for a regular great chef that's a chef in the kitchen cooking first to translate and do pastry as well? What is that? I
can speak to it from the other way around in that I don't really cook. So everybody kind of thinks that like I probably eat really well because I'm a chef and so I must cook. I don't cook. Like I live on Central Market and DoorDash takeout. And so there's a level of preciseness to baking and pastry, and it really having to be exact measurements, and you work out all of those details in advance. It's a lot of planning. Whereas I think most chefs that do well can, they trust their instincts. They go by the flavor. They make things up as they go. And for us, we're so methodical that I think of that concept even like if you were to just throw this or that, I want to know how much that weighs. Like I need to know exactly what that is. So when I go to make it again, I can replicate it.
Yeah, because all that, every little ingredient it fluctuates.
Right.
The presentation, how everything's going to come out, correct?
Right, exactly. And so with baking, it has to be precise or you're not going to get the right chemical reactions to get the product you want. Whereas a lot of chefs can just sort of work from flavor. They have their basis, they know their mother sauces and all that, but they can add this or that and tweak it. And I want to know exactly, like, if I love it, how am I going to make it again? So, I mean, I think that it's just that level of preciseness and planning.
And I think you're right. And I'll tell you a real quick funny story. Do you know Grady Spears, cowboy chef, celebrity chef?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. He's been a cook all his life, chef all his life. And I was asking him one day about seasoning stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'll just never forget this story. We just got to doing a TV segment and we were sitting at the bar talking, doing the show.
Right.
Actually, I sat at the bar. He was standing behind the bar. He came around to talk to me. And his back was to the doors where they come out.
Right.
And this guy came out carrying the 3 chicken fried steaks. And out of the corner of his eye, when the guy got past him, he grabbed him by the hand and said, "Wait a minute," and turned around and said, "Man, that's not going to work. You need more salt on that." And I said, "What? What do you?" He said, "Well, I didn't see any salt." So he went and got salt and put it on each one. And he said, "Now it's going to be perfect."
Right.
I'm like, "How in the world?" I said, "Grady, how in the world?" He said, "I just know.
Right.
I just know." But if it was bacon, you could just taken.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
By sight.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's definitely things I can tell that are wrong by sight. Don't get me wrong.
I know. Yeah.
But something as far as flavor and, did it rise properly and did it brown evenly and all of that. Yeah, no, that's true.
So when you went to college, you didn't cook in college at all? You didn't cook when you were going to school?
No, God, I probably lived on instant mac and cheese, I think, while I was in college. It's ridiculous.
Ramen?
Yeah. I mean, you just sort of get by. And no, I went to college for English literature.
Wow.
Loved all of my English courses and really dissecting things about culture and all of that. And so really loved it and stuck with it and did well. Decided I'd go to graduate school because I was going to be a professor. Like this, I'm just going to have a degree in reading for the rest of my life.
Professor of pastry?
No, I mean, it really, right. Yeah. I really was like, okay, I could do this. I would love to teach people and see them grow in their own careers. And ultimately I didn't really have a passion for it. I did well with graduate school, but I was just like, I don't want to get published. I don't want to write original things. Like I didn't have a passion for the writing piece. And so I gave it up. And I had put myself through school by working at Williams-Sonoma. So I was a store manager for Williams-Sonoma here in Dallas.
Good company.
And that really, that was a lot of the baking bug, and seeing people's reactions to food and talking about recipes and really having that food piece. So that really developed it, but it still always kind of just stayed in the back of my mind. And my family, it was like, we never see you at holidays. Like you're working retail, you have school. I was doing something every day. I never had time to go home. And so it was like, okay, I'm going to get a real job. I'm going to get a 9-to-5, something I have weekends off and vacation and a 401k and all of the things. I'm going to be a grown up. Right.
Yeah.
So I really did. I found a job at Ernst & Young. I came in at entry level, and just worked my butt off.
That's a long way from your degree to Williams-Sonoma to Ernst & Young. That's a complete 360.
Total changes. Yes. Yeah.
So you say you went in at the ground level. You had to learn everything about accounting there, or did you already know?
No. And actually, I did more of the like back end process and project management. So nothing with numbers. Even it's funny to say that I even worked there because like even now, the first thing I outsourced in my business was accounting and payroll. Like give that to somebody that's going to do it right because it's not going to be me.
Yeah.
But no, I worked with a lot of accountants, and interestingly, we share a lot of similar traits, right? Like accountants are precise and methodical and meticulous, and so are pastry chefs. We have a lot of similarities.
Right.
So I did really well with those groups and got to work with people around the world and got to travel. And I really enjoyed my time there. I just didn't think it was going to be where I would stay forever.
They're a big firm, so you travel all over for them?
Yeah.
They're worldwide, correct?
Yeah. So, I mean, I spent a few weeks in India. I got to go to Europe quite a bit.
That's good for relations. I think, meet different people. You get, you learn about different cultures. It's a neat deal.
Absolutely.
Did you eat different foods when you were over there?
I did.
Obviously, you had to. You were there.
Right.
But.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Although, I mean,
you could have searched out a Kentucky Fried Chicken.
You could have had McDonald's every day while you're there for sure. And they definitely served us a lot of Italian food because they just kind of knew that like all the Americans could handle that. Right. But no, we went to a couple of Indian restaurants for sure. And that's really where you can kind of hone in on like, am I really going to ever like this? Like if I haven't liked it in the US, let me try it here.
It's different though. I'm sure it's way different.
And like you want to make sure that like if I try it in the culture where it came from and I don't like it, then I probably don't like it, or vice versa. So
everything that comes across the pond, I call it, is changed.
Right.
Italian food's different. I mean, they eat the course different. It's all different.
Right.
But
that's okay. It makes you appreciate it when you go to where it's from. And like this is the actual way that they intended it to be. Right.
Yeah. So how long did it take you? So you worked for Ernst & Young, and then how long? It had to be a transition. You just don't go open a pastry shop. So take me through the steps, please.
Sure. Yeah. So kind of in the back of my mind through a lot of the time that I was at Ernst & Young, I had thought about, I could open like a cupcake shop or something, or like, that doesn't seem like it'd be too difficult. And would I want to do it? And would I want to only do cupcakes? And knowing that I had traveled to France quite a few times and I just loved the pastry, obviously. I mean, everybody does. But like just the fact that it was so accessible and everybody had their local place where they would get their bread or their pastries or pick up the things they needed for the weekend celebration or what have you. I loved that. And we didn't have it here. And so it was pretty quick that I was like, the cupcakes aren't going to do it for me. Sure. Yes. You're like practically printing money to have a cupcake shop, right? Yeah. It's easy. Getting the skilled labor is not difficult, all of that kind of thing. But it wasn't really where my passion was. I really was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right. I'm going to go to culinary school. I'm going to, try to mentor with other chefs or other business owners that have done this and see, what can I learn?
Gradual steps.
And I knew that it would be huge, right? So at that point, you're like, well, this is too big. I'm not going to worry about this right now. I'm going to, keep plugging away at my job. And if at some point it gets to the really where like, this is not what I want to do, and I really feel the passion strong enough to do something different, then I'll do it. And so through that process, my husband and I had the opportunity to go live over in Paris for a few months.
Oh, wow.
Most of my team at Ernst & Young was in Europe. So they're like, sure, you'll be in the same time zone. That's great. Come on over. And so we just rented a place, and he worked 100% remotely so he could keep his job. And we sort of knew like, if I don't come home from this in love with doing this and ready to go to culinary school, then I'm just going to drop it. And
You figured out a way to do you figured out a way financially to see if you're passionate, if you're going to be passionate about something, and you made that work, which is neat. That already means you had passion for it anyway.
Right.
You realize that, right?
But as you're going through it, you don't realize like that's what it is, or that's the steps you're taking to get towards something. You're just sort of feeling it out as you go. And so I had the ability to take some Le Cordon Bleu day classes. They just teach classes out of the cooking school, and loved it. Came home with all of my pastries that I made, and we did French macarons and all of that. And my husband was just like, this person is like the happiest I've seen in a really long time. And I felt that too. And we really knew like, okay, this is it. And so we got back. I took 1 semester course at El Centro, knowing that it was more of a professional culinary school. Let me see, kind of on a community college budget that's right next to my existing job, if I really want to do this before I like take the leap and leave, having, a good salary and weekends off and all that. And loved it.
Weekends off. That doesn't happen anymore, does it?
No, nothing off really happens anymore, right? You're always kind of on.
Yeah.
But I loved it at El Centro, but knew that I wanted more classical French training and a more expansive curriculum than they had at the time.
Right.
And so my husband and I went and looked at, we went and looked at New York, and we went to California and really tried to look at all of that. But, we own a home in Plano. Right. We're like, okay, what's the most feasible way? Like I'm about 30, like what's the quickest way we can get this moving, because it's going to take time to build this.
Right.
And so I wound up going to the Le Cordon Bleu pastry program in Austin. They had an intensive program. We were able to just get like a little 1-bedroom apartment in Austin. We could come home to Dallas every weekend if we needed to. Yeah. And then I did it. My boss at Ernst & Young allowed me to work a flexible schedule. So I was able to keep my full-time job 8 of the 9 months I was in culinary school. And so I just dug in and loved it from the get-go.
You had a lot of variables, you realize.
Yeah.
Worked out.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of sort of confluence of situations that have to line up perfectly for it to work out.
You planned it out pretty well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and honestly, I look back at it now, you get far enough in the industry and you look back and you're like, oh my God, I was so crazy. Like, I can't believe I did this. And it's so big and all of it. But at the time, I never thought it was going to fail. Like, it never crossed my mind that like, I remember sitting in culinary school the first day where they're like, we're going to have icebreakers and talk about what you want to do with your degree, and I'm with a lot of 18-year-olds who are just like, my parents said I had to do something, so here I am, and I'm like, I'm going to open a French pastry shop, and it's going to be in Dallas and maybe even in this zip code, and it's going to look like this, and this is how many square feet it, like, I mean, I knew exactly what I wanted from the day I started culinary school. And I look at Bisou now, and our shop is exactly what I had in mind at the time. Like, it's exactly what I had been working for.
You know what that is, don't you? It's passion.
Yeah, it really is. And I think it teeters on the line of just massive creativity versus just complete insanity. And you're always just sort of working through that.
That's what makes it work, though.
Right, right.
So you got a culinary school.
Yep.
And
you have to have an externship.
Right.
So I looked in Dallas and was just like, okay, the whole reason I'm doing this is because what I want doesn't exist here.
Right.
So that's not going to work. So I really kind of expanded my horizons, and I had a couple of connections that I kind of worked to the best of my ability, was able to at least get a contact at the French Laundry in California. And to try to see if I could extern there or at any of the properties, right? I knew I wanted to do baking and pastry. Yeah.
That's
so
amazing.
I had eaten there once prior to culinary school, and knew that I really wanted an environment that was going to push me past my limits, and let's do it as quickly as possible.
Hang on, stop right there real quick. Tell people who are listening that don't know what the French Laundry is.
Sure.
Tell them a little bit about the French Laundry real quick, so they understand the gratitude. What this is.
Absolutely. They've been, I can't even imagine how many years in a row now they've been like the best restaurant in the country. It's run by obviously the Thomas Keller restaurant group. So Thomas Keller is a very famous chef in the U.S. and has recognition all over the world. Is a mentor to a ton of chefs and a lot of people coming up through the industry. And so he has the French Laundry, which was really the crown jewel, the first real restaurant for the restaurant group that took off. But in the little town of Yountville, California, he also has Bouchon Bistro, the Bouchon Bakery, which was really started to supply bread to all of his locations because
he had pretty smart.
Yeah, because he had very high specifications on what he wanted. And then there's Ad Hoc as well. So right kind of down the same street in Yountville, California, he has all these properties.
Isn't it phenomenal? He's been able to keep that reign going for so long and keep the consistency going.
Right, and the consistency is fantastic. It's amazing. And knowing that he had that reputation going into looking for the externship, like, of course, that made sense to me. Right. But now on the other end of it and running my own business, like, I see how important that was, that critical level of detail.
There's nothing more important than consistency right now.
Absolutely. And everyone that wants, like, when are you going to open 5 more stores? And, if you get more locations and all of that, I'm like, I'm never going to do that until I know that the product that I sell between one and the next is exactly the same. And I'm not going to do it until I know we're there. And, it's coming. We're definitely like on that path. And it helps to have a crew that I do that has been with me for so long. We've got people that have been with us like 4 or 5 years. So they have seen the progression of the business and they know my standards and they're able to execute consistently.
We tried, in the restaurant business, my dad tried umpteen different things, not a million, but 1,000 things in the 50 years we had our restaurants. He would try to implement new things,
Yeah.
And if it didn't go, here's what happens. If a chef makes it, if you've got a bunch of restaurants and a corporate chef or just a chef makes a recipe for you.
Right.
And you put it out to 50 people that work in the kitchen, 50 different restaurants, and there's 3 people that work in there with that guy. Mm-hmm. Invariably, everyone you go on is going to have different flavor because they're going to try to put their own spin on it.
Yep.
And that's not what they're supposed to do, but that's what they do because they think they know better than what the head chef knew that made the product. So we wound up scrapping lots of programs because of that. So consistency is it's a very important deal.
It is. I mean, and even something where, we have customers that might request a particular pastry to be added to our menu. Of course, I want to do all of that. Of course, I want to have accessibility to every single French pastry from around the whole country.
Hold on right there.
But you can't. You can't replicate it. And so even if I were to make it for that one customer, yes, I might make it exactly the way that it's made and consult like even my class textbooks to make sure that we hit something right. That doesn't mean that I can teach my staff to do it, that they'll have a passion for making it right, that I know what it's going to cost us to make on a consistent basis, and have it done consistently all the time. So that's why I'm pretty methodical about the stuff that we'll add to the menu.
I can tell you're methodical just from your history.
Yeah.
So you went to, how long did you stay at the French, how long did you stay out there in California?
So the French Laundry is actually an interesting story in and of itself.
I want to hear this.
So my husband and I, we were like, okay, we're going to do this. We pack up our 2 cars with our 2 dogs. Whatever we can fit in the cars, that's what's going with us to California.
Did you keep the house in Plano or you had to
Yes. Okay. House in Plano stays. I had a friend of mine needed a place at the time. We needed somebody to watch it. So that worked out really well. She lived in our house while we were gone. And we packed up the cars. We're like, we'll just buy all of our furniture at IKEA. We had 2 apartments on hold. We were just going to pick one when we got there. We didn't even make it out of the Texas state line. And I got an email on my BlackBerry, scrolling through my little bowl, my little ball on there, that the French Laundry had terminated its externship program.
Oh,
and they tell you in school, like, you should have a backup. Your restaurant could burn to the ground. Like, there's no excuses. You're going to have to do it. I didn't have a backup. I was going to the French Laundry. Like, nothing's going to happen to it. So, panic, right? So we're like, my husband and I are sitting like in a park somewhere in like Amarillo, trying to figure out what we're going to do.
It's a long way from California.
Yeah. And we're like, do we keep driving and get at least to Albuquerque and we'll figure it out there? Do we turn around? Like, we can't possibly. No, I'm not turning around. Like, there has to be something. And so all of that to say, they're like, well, we have some spots. We could put you in the bakery instead. Like, the pastry program could take on an extra. And I'm like, done, sold. Yeah. That's exactly what I wanted to do anyway.
While you were driving?
Yeah.
Did you talk to them while you were driving?
Yes. I was literally.
Email or call?
Calling.
Okay.
Yes. Calling my
emails will
school,
do good,
calling the contact, all of that. And they were hugely accommodating. They ultimately, the program at the French Laundry, they didn't pay their externs. And so they got into a little bit of trouble with California for that.
Sure.
So, but the bakery did. And I'm super great. $8 an hour. Sign me up.
Yeah.
I'll live in Napa. $8 an hour, no problem. And so ultimately I was placed where I really wanted to be anyway. I never would have said no to the French Laundry. I would have learned so much from that experience. But what I really wanted to do was the production bakery and the pastry. And so I was very fortunate to get put there right from the get-go, and let my chef know when I got there, like, I want to stay. Like, I want to stay. I want to learn. I want to do as much as I can in this industry. And so they were very gracious and placed me in a place where I could grow. And it's really, I mean, it's a testament to that restaurant group and Thomas Keller's focus on bringing up the next generation of who's going to run this industry and making sure they have the skills they need to do it.
You know what's hard now, though, in the restaurant business, the bakery business, pastry business, everything?
Yeah.
Mediocrity seems to be okay with a lot of people.
It is.
It's hard to find somebody who is passionate about what they're doing. If you don't, even if they don't own the company, it's hard to find people. For some reason, I don't know where it's gone to, but it's not distilled in people anymore. That I don't care if you're sweeping the street, do it the best way you can do it. If one piece of trash left, go back and pick it up.
Right.
But people don't have that passion anymore.
No. Yeah.
What do you think happened? What?
I don't know, but I see it too. And that's saying, like, if you're going to do it, do it. Like, if this is your job, and you see it even if you hire vendors and, contractors or whatever you need, like, I'm paying you to do this thing. We've clearly outlined what this thing is. I expect you to do that thing, right? If somebody hires me to make a cake for their 50th anniversary, I can't not do it. It can't be late. Can't be half done. I can't just be, here's a cake and no frosting, right? Like, you do what somebody asked you to do and you do it right. Like, I think there's a certain, either that's kind of instilled in you or it isn't. I don't know that that's something that really can be taught.
You might be right.
Yeah.
You might be right. I've never figured it out.
And I try to instill it in the people that work for me, but to a certain extent, I don't hire them if they don't have it.
Yeah.
So, like,
you can tell right away.
Yeah.
You can tell.
So really our team has that. They take that ownership of the stuff that they're doing.
I'm pretty sure they wouldn't
be
working for you if they didn't have it.
Yeah.
You're not a half. You're not a half on the fence type person.
Exactly. And quite honestly, if somebody were to come on and they knew my level of expectation and they're not hitting it, a lot of them just sort of go
disappear.
away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they're like, okay, this isn't going to work for me because I want to dial it in every day, and she's not going to accept that, because I really don't.
Yeah. So you got finished there.
Yeah. So stayed there really as long as we could hemorrhage money in California.
Yeah.
Just about 2 years.
I was going to say about 2 years.
Yeah.
I think everybody hemorrhages money out there in one way or another. It's just I lived out there for 8 years. I lived in Laguna Beach and so it's expensive.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I could get fresh strawberries right down the street. It was fantastic.
Doesn't it feel like it's a little fake at times? It's so beautiful. Everything is so perfect. It feels like it's fake at times.
Right. Yeah. Like, it can't possibly be this fantastic all the time. I know. And it is still stunning. I just actually went back for a visit a couple weeks ago, and it had been a while since I'd been back. And
it's always beautiful.
It's just beautiful. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's grapes on the vine. And my husband is like, we lived here for surely you've seen the grapes on the vine. I'm like, I don't remember. Like, it all looks new.
It's colorful.
Yes.
There's so many colors there. Everything is colorful.
And everything's starting to change colors, and it's just beautiful. But we had to say goodbye to the really fantastic weather and the really fantastic food and come back home, because the idea wasn't to open this thing in California.
Well,
they have it.
It
was trying to open it in Dallas. But
plus,
really,
you want to be in
didn't.
Texas. That's where all action is
right
now.
And this is home.
You saw what we want. You saw what we know. You see it,
but
right?
I mean, still, this was, you figured this was 2012.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
And you're just like, please, can the French macaroon craze hold out long enough for me to build this business, find a location, build it out, get open, all of the steps that you have to take. And I was incredibly fortunate that it did.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you came back.
Did initially look for someplace to work in Dallas, kind of pursued, am I going to go hotel? Because that at least was going to be a higher end pastry.
Yeah.
That probably would have been the only option, but I was on the fence about it, not having done hotel before. And really keep in mind, I went to school in Austin and I worked in California. And so all of sort of my mentors and people in the industry that I knew weren't local to Dallas. So I didn't really know anybody in this community. So as I'm sort of working through all of that, I have friends who know that I'm back. And so they're like, hey, I have this party. Hey, I have this baby shower. Hey, can you make French macaroons? Hey. To the point where you're like, I don't even know what to charge for any of this stuff,
My name's not, hey, it's Bijou.
Right. And so, I really spent that first year in through the holidays tinkering with what's this going to look like? And and starting an Instagram page, where you're like, I know I'm going to screw this up, but let's do it now while nobody knows me and I can learn what I need to do.
Right. You probably didn't screw it up though.
I just didn't post anything until I was ready to make it right, and so that's
another thing. You can't post anything nowadays you don't want anybody to see, because if you post it even for 5 minutes,
right, somebody's going to screenshot it or something.
That's right,
yeah, for sure. It's got to be right.
Yeah.
And so really just spent that first year, it sort of organically took off on its own. I'm like, okay, so by that holiday season, we created the official business the next January 1st or whatever, and spent that first year really going through every recipe and determining what was going to be on the standard menu for this business and what kind of tarts were we going to make and how are we going to do croissants and all of that, and really working through all the recipes at home. So that was a lot. In the meantime, having orders here and there, people trying to do things, and working with Small Business Development Center to figure out all the things I don't know, and how do I hire a person, and how many taxes am I going to pay? All the sort of really boring business owner stuff, which is a drag. It is, when you want to just be like, I just want to make ice cream today. That's all I want to do. And you like, just kidding, I have to do payroll.
Do you do payroll? You forming out somebody? Payroll company?
No, I have my accountant. Does
I was going to
say it's too important.
It's difficult.
It has to be right, and I don't. That's got to be that's somebody's take home pay. That's not for me to do.
Hey, just I'm not beating on her. Every time she hits the table, it kind of reverberates in the microphone. It's just her because she's so precise.
Yeah.
She talks with her hands,
I do.
just like I do. When I first started, I was really bad about it.
You tell like I'm trying to like keep them out of the way. Stop talking with your hands. You hit stuff.
That's your personality, though. It's your passion about what you're doing.
I am.
I'm going to tell you, I don't know anybody sitting in that chair that's not passionate about what they do. Passion is what drives everything. And if a person's not passionate, I can tell when you talk to them.
Right.
If they're not passionate about it, it's not.
It comes across right away. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so that was 2013 we started the business. So 2013 to 2014 was kind of just figuring out the brand, figuring out the recipes, building up some small clientele here and there.
Okay, so let's go through the story about how you got your name, because I want you to tell everybody how you got.
So Bisou Bisou, it means kiss kiss on both cheeks. So it's this sort of welcoming and bringing people into your community, and until we see each other again. And so we're going to have this enjoyable time while we're together, and then next time, we'll do it again. And so my good friend in France, her name is Camille, she would sign all of her letters and her emails and everything with that salutation. And it always, of course, caught my attention, right? I speak English, so I'd never seen it before, and just loved that concept. And we were on vacation together while I was working through all of this branding. Who are we going to be?
Trying to have an identity, because branding is important. We talked about this. It's hugely important.
And
it's actually one of the most important things when you start.
And I fought it because I figured nobody would remember our name. They're not going to be able to pronounce it. How are they going to remember, oh, that's the place I saw at so-and-so. I want to buy their product. So fought it for a long time. And finally, she just was not having it anymore. Just takes a notebook, okay, we're going, enough. We're on vacation. You have to stop this. I was obsessed. I really wanted to make it right and get it right from the get-go.
You know what that was?
Passion. Yeah, for sure. You look back on it now and I'm like, oh, we relate to whatever. But no, it was it took that experience for me to make the decision, okay, even if this creates some kind of a problem, which it certainly has over the years, I don't care.
You got sued for it.
Yeah.
From Hershey's. Yeah. Hershey went after you.
Yeah.
Because
Bisou translates into kiss.
Why would they even? I guess that's just their way of protecting their brand.
Yep.
They just
absolutely. They have to go after every application for a new copyright that could infringe.
I guess so.
They have to look like they're defending their brand, or somebody could come against it later. It was infuriating, especially when you're a small business and you're just we don't have in our budget to spend, 20 grand on lawyer fees to try to get this to go away, when initially you say, okay, we won't make solid chocolate products. We won't make anything even in that shape. Is that cool? And they want no part of it. And then, you fight for a year and a half, and finally that's what they agree to at the end. Right. I'm just this was such a waste of time and effort.
They wanted to win. They had the money. They were trying to wait you out. That's what they were doing.
Exactly. And I think, that happens all the time.
Oh, all the time.
And
a lot of people give up.
Most people would give up. Exactly. And at that point, we were like, you know what? We have thousands of dollars invested in this brand. We already had our packaging. We had everything developed. No, I'm not backing down on this, because partly because I'm stubborn, but it was the principle of it. There is no conflict here. If we actually made it to a judge, if I had the money to spend what it needed to get in front of a judge, we would win.
Right.
Because this is crap.
Yeah.
And so we didn't let go.
They just had a big story. History Channel did a huge story on chocolate, on the candy. It was a 2 hour deal.
History Channel.
It was fantastic. They Hershey almost went broke twice. I mean, it was
Sure. Yeah.
It was a phenomenal story. I mean,
Right.
I love seeing brands that have gotten into just like
Right.
yours,
There's so much history there.
So much
with
history.
theirs.
You like to see the chronological what happens to them because it's interesting.
Right.
People just don't come on.
Right. It like magically, like, look,
Right.
here we are.
Yeah.
you know?
Why the people outside in real society, working every day, walking to work, taking taxis, Uber, whatever, their heads are down, and they're working. They're not looking, and all of a sudden this brand appears.
Right.
That brand might have spent 20 years to get to there. That's just the first time they saw it.
Right.
So-
Exactly. Yeah. And there's so many small businesses like ours in Dallas that are, they're run by people who are passionate, who are working their asses off every day.
Yep.
And a lot of times for this much,
I know.
if
Buy
that
local,
much,
eat
like
local.
you're happy to get this much,
Pay the bill, just keep
but
the
I
lights
wouldn't
turned
do
on.
anything else,
Yeah.
I don't pay myself to this day. If there's something that we can do to grow and I can use whatever that would be to get better staff
Right.
and people that want this, that, understand that, we're doing something that's really unique in the city. And sure, we're not, rocket scientists, it's not the be all end all in the world, but we're contributing to somebody's happy moment in their day. And people need that. And that's what we get to do. We get to be a part of people's celebrations. If they're having a birthday, it seems cheesy to say, I get it, right? It's a birthday cake, but we get to be a little part of that celebration. And I just think that's really cool. And I am able to find staff that believe that buy that want in on
They
that.
follow the leader. They follow the leader. And
Yeah.
That's important.
Right.
We have my family's been in the ranching business for almost 200 years in Texas.
Crazy.
And we have a thing that's been for generations passed down. And all the Western people say it's called ride for the brand. And that's what you're doing. You ride for your brand every day.
Yeah. It's a
what
really
you're
good
doing.
way to put it. Yeah.
You're not on a horse, but you're riding.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why, to a certain extent, there is no day off.
Right.
Right. So even on my days off, I'm usually stopping at coffee shops or checking out other pastry places. Or when I went to San Francisco, we had one morning and we went to like 7 bakeries and just like hit as many things as we could to see what else is out there. What other flavors are people trying? What are people liking? What do I like? We had a lot of fun. We ate too much pastry.
I lived there too for a year and a half across the Marin.
Nice. Yeah. A very good friend of mine opened her bakery last year in Benicia.
Oh,
and so
wow.
we really went to go see her place and she's killing it out there. So it was it was a fun trip.
That's my favorite place in California. It does look fake. All that Napa, all it's just
Yes.
ridiculous.
The mountains and the water.
Yeah.
It's just like, really? Like, people live here.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
Do I have to go home? Yeah, I got to go pay the
ridiculous.
bills.
I know. And everybody asked when we moved back, like, why? Why are you coming? I'm like, well, Texas is home. There's no change in that.
No,
like
it's home.
It's home. And we were really grateful when we got to come home, but we definitely were like, wow, okay, we're missing some beautiful scenery and perfect weather and, fresh strawberries from down the street.
Oh, I know. Yeah. So
It's hard to let go
So
of.
I want to know where do you get your inspiration for all your products that you have?
Yeah.
Your products, your cookies, your macarons. I want to
Right.
set these out here for a minute.
I'm like, yeah, you should. I'm like,
Yeah.
be careful what you open.
Yeah. Wait, I want to be careful what I open.
Right, because you might want to try some.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my
I
gosh.
certainly will.
Here, I don't know what I'm going to do here. I'm going to get a plate real quick.
Yeah, do it. I'm like, I hope there's one close by. Okay, good. Yeah, you've got, let's see, you've got some of our signature Cruffins in there. So we do a croissant muffin hybrid, which is really initially just something that we did to utilize the extra trim pieces of croissant, right? They were still buttery and delicious, but they would never be a croissant.
Right.
And so we tinkered with that for a while, and here we go. We've got sweet and savory options of Cruffins. And
Cruffins?
Cruffin, so a croissant muffin hybrid. So it's croissant dough. We roll it around other fillings, either sweet or savory, and then bake them up like a muffin.
Oh my gosh! I said about seeing.
Like, oh man, lots of goodies in that one.
yeah.
Yeah, so looks like we've got ham and cheese. So we do a ham and smoked Gouda version. So that's one of the savory options that we have. We do raspberry cream cheese. That one's been on our menu since the beginning. Yeah, it's cream cheese frosting, man. You've got to have a vehicle for that all the time.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Everybody loves that, right?
Yeah, a little bit of vanilla bean in there,
Yeah.
a little salt. We've got cream cheese Danish. You have to have a Danish.
This
Everybody
thing
loves
looks
that.
beautiful.
Mhm. Yeah. We do a version of that with some fruit in there as well.
Okay, so how long does it take to make this? What's the process? If you had to put a time on this, because you probably do other things, you'll just make this. So
right.
what is the time? What does it take to make something this beautiful? And look at this flake. Look at that.
Right. Yeah. And it'll shatter everywhere when you go to bite into it, which I love the shatter. It's a lot. The croissant process really runs our whole calendar, our whole schedule. So the dough starts the night before, and then it gets mixed the following morning. And then it's got to rise, it gets punched down, it's got to chill, then it gets sheeted. So really, it's probably a 24-hour process to get to this even in a cold form. And then it's baked after it's proofed. So a couple days.
So what is just on this plate, what is your favorite thing here?
The Queen Amman. You thought our name was hard to say. So this is the Queen Amman, so kind of like a Queen Amman.
Queen Amman.
And that same friend, when we were on that same vacation in France, it's really, if you want some comparative things, it's like a croissant and a palmier hybrid. So it's got a nice crunchy, sugary butter texture plus the croissant dough.
I know people can't see this because if they're listening on iHeart or whatever, but look at this. This is just this is beautiful.
And I'm like dying to bite into it.
This is gorgeous. This when you talk about presentation, about something that looks good that you want to eat, this is just fantastic. Well, all of them are like, but this would just
butter.
The glaze. Yeah.
Butter and sugar. But it's that was a real pet project for us. It took me about 7 years to get to the point where we got that honed into the way that I had first tried it in France.
It took that long?
Mm-hmm. Well, because business is happening in the meantime. And like I said, I don't want anything on the menu unless I know that we can get it consistent and that it's right and that it's kind of true to that first bite that I took.
Right.
And that took a while, and it took help from the team. So I had multiple people on my team helping with it too. And like, okay, now we've done this run. What if we cut it just a quarter of an inch less? And let's try that. And what if we put a pan on top of the muffin pan? And how does that work? And we tried every little detail until we finally got it right. And it's so good. And I have to resist not eating it every day.
That's got to make you feel good. What is that to know that it took so long to have something that perfect? I mean, it has to.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
So on this plate right here, what would a customer? What do you sell to most of the customers, or is it just variable because people like different things?
It is a little variable just because we have so many different items. We probably have something in the neighborhood of 40 to 45 different baked goods at a time. And so you figure on an average day, you're only making maybe 4 or 5 of each of those, because there's so much different selection. I would say the cinnamon roll Cruffin, that's this one here. We probably do the most of.
Cinnamon roll Cruffin.
Mm-hmm. So it's got cinnamon all through the layers. It gets baked in a muffin pan, and then we put a cinnamon glaze on top.
I'm a big from restaurant business. I'm a big food cost guy, and this just makes me cringe looking at all this and talking about.
No, it shouldn't.
I know, but you have so many products and you have so many days, and so how do you control your food costs? I mean, you don't throw anything. Do you have
we desperately try not to throw things away?
I know you have to because of quality,
right? But we don't throw it away. So even our day old pastries, right? We don't sell them, but they're perfectly edible. We donate all of that to Meals on Wheels.
That's neat.
And so like they get all the next day pastries, and it's important not only because that's going to feed somebody and that means something to me, but.
This is like Christmas.
You figure that person that's rolling those croissants every day, and that might have been their whole 8-hour shift is rolling 250 croissants. There's something to it that in the back of your mind that everything is always going to be eaten. Nothing's going to get trashed.
Right.
Like somebody is going to be made happy by that thing that you worked on.
Okay.
And it's nothing more demoralizing than having to throw stuff away.
Yeah.
For the baker that just spent, they spend their whole livelihoods doing this, and we don't do it because we make money, because clearly it's not huge profit.
Yeah.
We do it because we have the passion for it.
I work a lot with the food bank and, get a lot of stuff in.
Right.
I got to tell you, I'm looking at this deal right here. This looks nice, but this deal right here, what in the world is this thing?
This guy.
What?
Yeah. So that is, that's taken some definite research and development from the team. That's a bicolor croissant. So we have it where it's actually laminated in part of the dough is purple. And so it's a laminated croissant. It is filled with a house-made caramelized onion, bacon, and fig jam. It has a mascarpone frosting on top with crumbled bacon and fresh figs.
This is just absolutely.
It's ridiculous.
The other thing was beautiful. This is insane.
Right. It's ridiculous. It really is. And we always have a seasonal one like that on our menu, but as long as figs are still fresh, we'll keep running that guy.
So
'cause
when I
he's
opened
good.
the box up, it looked like a picture. It looked like it had been painted on the box. That's how beautiful it is.
Yeah.
Do all of them look as perfect?
Yes.
I'm
Those
sure they are
actually
with
do.
you. I'm sure they
Yeah.
are with you.
Mhm. And really, if something didn't, it doesn't go out. You know, the staff
Yeah.
knows what's right and what's not.
So what is this beautiful flaky thing
That is
here?
our classic pain au chocolat. So that's a chocolate croissant. We use, I know,
Look
I'm
at
telling
that.
you, there's so much shatter about to happen.
But that's good though.
Yeah, absolutely. We use a dark chocolate, so a Valrhona dark chocolate in our pain au chocolat. So the flavor is really nice.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so what is this?
That is so puff pastry. So we make our own puff pastry in house as well, and that's a spinach and feta turnover.
And how many layers is this? About?
I mean, it's puff, so it's really like 1,000 layers of all the different folds.
I watch.
Yeah.
You know, when I work on my computer,
Uh-huh.
I TiVo or tape whatever a lot of the baking shows and chef shows. I don't watch them all. I just listen to them.
Uh-huh.
And if something I'll spin around, I watch a lot of baking shows, and sometimes I watch them where they have to keep layering this stuff, and it's phenomenal to me.
Right.
It's crazy.
It's delicious. That's what it is.
I tell you, it's delicious.
Right.
This looks unbelievable. So what is
we
this?
we definitely use a lot of butter. That is a vanilla bean scone. So there's actually another kind of story with my obsession with vanilla. So you're familiar with the industry, so you know that
Right.
vanilla is sky high now.
Right.
It's easily 4 times the cost of what it was when we started the business. But my husband and I, we did our last stitch sort of vacation before we really let the business sort of take over was for our 10th wedding anniversary. We went to French Polynesia. And so had our vacation there. But while we were there, we were able to go tour a Tahitian vanilla farm.
a Tahitian vanilla farm.
Yeah.
So that's phenomenal.
So you go to the island and you get off the boat and it just like you can smell the vanilla from the water. Like
my
it's so
gosh.
strong. And
Still
so we
smells
went
good,
to the
though,
farm and they show you kind of how they have to hand pollinate the plants and you know, all the workers and where they dry them and how they have to be just the perfect shape to be sold as a bean and what they do with all the excess and all of that. And so we tried obviously all the vanilla we were there, and they make a vanilla powder where they really pulverize all of the dried out seed pods. And I tried it and they had little, 50-gram jars or whatever. And I was like, damn, that is really good. Like this has to go in our French macaron. And the guy that was working there, I was buying the little jar and told him that I was a chef and we were
How much
working at
is a little
starting a
jar
business.
like that? Is it expensive?
I don't remember at the time. Yes, it's expensive. And he was like, you know what? You're going to want more of this. And so he like vacuum sealed probably about 500 grams of it for me. And then gave me his card and was like, you'll be calling. And sure enough, that same vanilla powder goes in that scone and in our French
I can
macaron
taste it
because
with
it's
one
just
little bite.
it's
It's amazing.
just perfect.
It pops, doesn't it?
And it is insanely expensive now. So we buy a couple kilos at a time. We literally like on the container in the kitchen, like the price per gram is written on the tape. So the girls like, don't drop this. Like it costs more than drugs. So like it's very, expensive.
One of the guys from Deep Ellum Distillery, he makes craft drinks. And he has to do it in grams. Stuff he buys. He was talking about the same thing. And I said, man,
Right.
you sound like a drug dealer sitting over there.
Right. I mean, we have,
Yeah.
it's the little tiny scale and we call it a crack scale because I mean, I guess that's what it
Well, that
measures
could
like.
give you a crack
Right,
addiction.
right, exactly.
It
You'd
could.
definitely be addicted to it. But yeah, I'm pretty in love with that vanilla.
It tastes fantastic.
You can cut corners here and there where you can't, like a chocolate chip cookie. If you go to a different vanilla extract or paste, like you might be able to get away with that. But that's vanilla. That flavor has to come through. So there's no change in it. And so
what about now? This is a pretty box.
Yes, our signature item. So French macaroons is really what we're known for first and foremost.
I don't know any of you guys out there. If this is over with, this is all going home with me.
Right, he's going to touch every one of them. They're going to be claimed.
This is great. Is this card coming all of them?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So they know, kind of care instructions also, because they're very fragile, right? If you leave them out at room temperature, they're really just good for one day. You want to,
Yeah.
with that, you've got it. Yeah, you're on it.
I got it. Okay, so let me ask you a question. So how come when I see some macaroons, they're a little flat, or are they old, or were they prepared wrong?
They're prepared wrong.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a very fragile process. It's really one of the more technical things that we do in pastry. And so a lot of times, we have people that even say like, well, why are they so expensive? I mean, so, the process that goes into it, you have to have really skilled labor that understand how to do it. The ingredients that go in it are expensive, almond meal, vanilla extract, that kind of thing, but they're also incredibly finicky. So there's a lot of potential waste involved of a run that might go through that looks like a pancake, or they're all too small or too big. Well, I'm not going to sell them if they don't fit properly in the packaging. That kind of thing. So there's a lot of stuff going on around just this one little cookie.
It's funny you just said about the expensive cookie, because when I was at the Dallas Chocolate Festival, which I told you about your booth, how wonderful it was. I heard, it's so small, you hear people talking.
Right.
And I heard somebody tell something, I don't want one of those. Those cookies are just too damn expensive. They don't realize what goes on, what goes on behind the scenes. Because this, if you look at it, it looks incredibly simplistic, doesn't it? But it's not.
Right. And that's part of, even the first bite I ever had of one in France, I didn't expect it to be all that it was. Like, you take that bite and you're just like, wait a second, what is this? You got to go back and wait. I need more of this. I need 6 of the same flavor because I can't stand.
That's just stupid delicious.
Right.
That's just
ridiculous. You just had the passion fruit one. So good. And right now we've got a seasonal one. This fun one that's kind of a tie-dye color we're doing is, it's definitely not a traditional flavor, but in anticipation of the state fair coming, we did a cotton candy flavor.
Where's that?
That's this one here.
That one here?
Uh-huh. Yeah. So I'm doing one of the celebrity chef series at the fair this year in October. And
that's a cool looking. That's neat looking. That does look like cotton candy. Yeah, it's neat.
So we're doing a whole kind of state fair thing. We're doing the Cruffins that we talked about. We're going to do a corn dog one, and make kind of a corn batter, and it's fun. We do a lot of seasonal stuff that's just like a different kind of flavor. We have all of our basics, and we have a lot of really French expatriates that live in Dallas that expect kind of your hazelnuts and your pistachios. And so we have all of that, but then we can do things that are fun like this.
Well, you probably don't realize this, but every time you talk about something new, you smile.
Do I?
Yeah, you get very excited about it. So
I do. I mean, I love it.
It's neat though.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what.
Cotton candy, right? Yeah. I mean, which is it's a tough flavor to do for us because the French macaroon lends itself to being rather sweet. And so we're kind of always looking for how do we get that balance. We want to make sure that the flavor is forward, not sugar forward. When you have some that are really poorly made, it is just like a sugar forward thing. And especially you see people like, oh, they're too expensive because they probably had one that just tasted like sugar. If I just wanted to stick a spoonful of sugar in my mouth, I could. It's a lot cheaper. But so, I mean, they should have a lot of flavor.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah. And we have some people who come to the booth, like those types of events, like the chocolate festival, and they're like, oh, I'm not a French macaroon person. And you're just like, stop with that. Like, here, please try this. Whatever you've had wasn't right. I can guarantee it. You've been doing this long enough now to know I've maybe one time ever have had somebody take that French macaroon and be like, nope, I'm still not a French macaroon person. Like, we convert a lot of people who have had some bad French macaroons.
I had one
that goes back to that mediocrity thing that you mentioned.
I had the very first time at, I think it was Paris Hotel in Las Vegas. And it was delicious. They have a pastry shop there. Have you ever been in there?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
It was. It's phenomenal. Phenomenal. Yeah.
It's a lot of good food in Vegas.
Well, yeah. Most of those places don't have budgets in those hotels, so they can do whatever they want to do, whatever they want to waste. So it's going to make it perfect.
Right. Which is a great place for people in our industry to work for a while,
to learn.
Right? Because you could probably test a lot of different things where your chef's going to be like,
not about budgeting.
Go ahead. Yeah. Exactly. We're not worried about the food cost on any of that. But yeah, so our French macaroons by and far are our most popular item.
Oh, is it really?
They're what?
Can I have that box behind you? A little box.
Yeah. They're what first drew me to this whole industry. That was the first bite I had in Paris where I really they caught their pastries caught my attention, put it that way. So yeah, we do a smaller box as well. So this is the 6-piece, same kind of flavor combinations.
Neat. But so hang on. So they get a 6-piece or a
12-piece, and we sell them individually too. If you just came in and you want a little treat with your coffee, because we use Noble Coyote Coffee Roasters, a local coffee roaster. Right. So we use them for all of our beans, and we use their coffee also in a couple of the macaroons as well. But they lend themselves so well to lots of good flavors. What else do we got over here? We've got some classic shortbread. You just can't go wrong. Vanilla bean shortbread. We have that in the shop every day. And then this is dangerous.
Oh, my gosh.
It is fleur de sel caramel peanut popcorn.
Fleur de sel caramel peanut popcorn. You just need to stay out of here, Sean. You need to go home.
It's going to be, it'll be a problem. I'm telling you. We joke that this has to be one serving, right?
That's one serving?
Because I mean, I literally just sometimes I'm like, oh, did it expire? Okay, well, I'll just take it. And literally I eat it in the car on the way home. I'll eat this whole, it's ridiculous. It's so good.
Okay.
But we do a lot of packaged products like that too.
I want you to tell everybody where to get a hold of you. Where is your location?
Our location, Bijou, is it's at 3700 McKinney Avenue in Uptown. So we're at West Village. We're right next to the Mini Lux in kind of the newer section, the 3700M section of West Village. We don't.
You don't?
Right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've tried it. We've definitely played that game. And when you're talking about consistency and
Terrible.
the product being correct,
It's
not.
Her smashed up.
And I can't do it. I can't put my name on something that's going to be stale when the customer pays what they pay to get it, So maybe someday, but not now. And so that's our shop.
Website, bijou.com.
Bijou-bijou.com.
Bijou-bijou.com.
Yep. And we're open 7 to 7 Monday through Saturday, 9 to 5 on Sundays. We're there every morning to kind of get you your morning going. And we've got a lot of regulars that live in the building. We've got residential above us. So we get to see a lot of the same faces every day, which is really nice. The shop's been there almost 5 years. We'll be 5 years in February. So we're definitely going to do a big celebration for that.
Do you park your Bijou wrapped Bentley outside in front?
Nice. Right. Don't I wish?
I'm messing with you.
Someday we'll have that. Right now, it's just a wrapped little Nissan.
That's okay.
But yeah, and we have a little food truck also. So we have our food truck is named Rendezvous. It's coffee, espresso, French macaroons, ice cream. It's a little more whimsical and fun than sort of the brick and mortar of the shop.
Right.
So we do that for events. We had it at the Chocolate Festival. It's sort of my husband's love project. He loves this truck. I think we joke because it's a 1977, so it's the same year he was born. So he has like some sort of like affiliation to this truck. But he and his dad rebuilt the whole guts of it, and they outfitted the whole back of it with the kitchen. They did it themselves, and so it's really talk about passion. Like get him talking about that truck and how it runs on battery power and it gets enough amps for the espresso machine to work, all this stuff, all the sort of technology. But yeah, so she's a lot of fun. So we do that for birthday parties and events and that kind of thing.
Okay, guys, we're out of time here.
Wow, it goes by so quick.
Thank you.
So fun to talk with you, Trey.
Thanks for good. Go visit Bijou in Uptown. Thank y'all. See you next week. Bye.